In modern professional sports, fame is often built on highlight reels, record-breaking numbers, and constant media attention. But sometimes a career follows a very different path, one defined not by volume, but by precision, timing, and a single elite skill used at exactly the right moment. This is the story of Terrance Gore, a figure whose name may not dominate box scores, yet continues to spark conversation, debate, and renewed interest years into his career. This documentary explores the life, career, and ongoing relevance of Terrance Gore. It looks at where he came from, how his journey began, what made him unique in a highly competitive sport, and why his name is trending again right now. More importantly, it examines what his career reveals about specialization, opportunity, and value in professional athletics. Terrance Gore was born into a modest environment where sports were less about fame and more about discipline and escape. From an early age, speed stood out as his defining physical trait. While many young athletes focused on strength or power, his natural acceleration and agility set him apart in playground games and school competitions. Running came easily to him, not just as a skill, but as an instinct. This early advantage would quietly shape his future long before he understood how rare and valuable it truly was. During his school years, Terrance Gore showed interest in multiple sports, but baseball gradually became the central focus. Unlike traditional prospects who are groomed to hit, field, and throw at elite levels, his development followed a different path. Coaches noticed that while his overall baseball tools were still developing, his speed was already at a professional level. He could change the momentum of a game in seconds simply by being on the field. His education and early athletic training reflected this reality. Instead of being molded into a conventional star, he learned to refine what he did best. Sprint mechanics, base running awareness, and situational intelligence became central parts of his growth. This was not a glamorous process. It involved repetition, patience, and accepting a role that did not promise headlines or long-term security. The beginning of his professional career did not follow a typical trajectory. He was not a highly celebrated draft pick or a player surrounded by immediate hype. Instead, his entry into the professional world came through opportunity and timing. Teams recognized a specific need that he could fill better than almost anyone else. Late-game situations where one run could decide everything required a player who could steal a base under pressure, read pitchers flawlessly, and turn minimal chances into maximum impact. As his career progressed, Terrance Gore became known for this specialized role. He was often brought into games at critical moments, sometimes without ever taking a swing. His presence alone forced defensive adjustments and changed strategic decisions. In a sport driven by numbers, his contributions were difficult to measure through traditional statistics, yet they were undeniable to managers and teammates. Recognition came in an unusual form. Rather than awards or personal accolades, it came through trust. Being placed into high-stakes situations during postseason games is a signal of confidence. Over time, Terrance Gore became associated with championship runs and playoff appearances. His role, though limited in scope, was executed on the biggest stages the sport could offer. However, this path was not without struggle. Specialization brings both opportunity and limitation. While his speed opened doors, it also confined expectations. Critics questioned whether a roster spot could be justified for such a narrow skill set. Others argued that his lack of traditional offensive production reduced his overall value. These debates followed him throughout his career, often resurfacing during roster changes or postseason selections. Failures and missed opportunities also played a part. Not every appearance led to success. A single misstep on the base paths could erase weeks of preparation. Because his role allowed so few chances, the margin for error was extremely small. This pressure required mental resilience as much as physical ability. In recent times, Terrance Gore has become trending again, and this resurgence in attention is not accidental. The trend began following renewed media discussion around specialized players and their impact on championship teams. A recent high-profile analysis revisited past postseason moments, highlighting how certain games turned on details rather than stars. Within that discussion, Terrance Gore emerged as a central example of how speed and situational awareness can influence outcomes at the highest level. The trend gained momentum when clips of his most impactful moments began circulating online. These clips were not home runs or defensive highlights, but stolen bases under intense pressure, defensive substitutions, and strategic appearances late in games. Viewers, especially younger audiences, began re-evaluating what contribution looks like in professional sports. Another factor driving the trend is the current evolution of analytics and roster construction. As teams increasingly value efficiency and situational optimization, the role that Gore played years earlier now appears ahead of its time. Analysts have pointed out that his career reflects a shift towards micro-roles, where players are deployed for specific advantages rather than all-around performance. Timing matters too. The conversation is happening now because the sport itself is in transition. With rule changes emphasizing speed, base stealing, and action on the field, his skill set feels newly relevant. Discussions across media platforms have asked whether modern teams would value such a player even more today than they did before. This question has pulled his name back into public discussion. The trend matters in the larger context of his career because it reframes how his contributions are judged. Instead of viewing his role as limited, it positions him as a case study in efficiency and strategic impact. It challenges long-held assumptions about what success must look like and who deserves recognition. Public and media reaction to this renewed focus has been mixed but engaged. Some celebrate his career as proof that there are many ways to contribute at the highest level. Others continue to debate the practicality of such specialization. What is clear is that his name has become a reference point in broader conversations about team building and player value. Currently, Terrance Gore stands as a symbol rather than just a former player. Whether through coaching, mentorship, or continued involvement in the sport, his experience offers insight into a path that is rarely discussed. The future may hold opportunities for him to influence how speed and situational roles are developed in younger athletes. In the long term, his legacy is not about records or personal milestones. It is about redefining contribution. His career demonstrates that impact does not always come from visibility, and that sometimes the smallest windows of opportunity carry the greatest weight. The story of Terrance Gore is ultimately a reminder that professional sports are not only shaped by stars, but also by specialists who change outcomes in subtle, decisive ways. As the game continues to evolve, his journey remains relevant, offering lessons about adaptability, patience, and purpose. If you found this documentary insightful and want more deep, analytical stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel for future episodes.